Mitas is actually one of my favorite restaurants. We work upstairs in the office from time to time. And everybody back there can tell you, probably 3 or 4 times out of the week I'll come here and just order pav bhaji. It's my favorite dish here, I love it. So I'm glad to be here and doing a demo of Mitas. Tonight what we're going to present to you is a fusion beetroot tikki wrap. So the way I kind of create my dishes, a little bit about me first off. I graduated as a dentist 3 years ago. Hated it, went to culinary school, and now I'm following my passion. So I became a creative culinary chef this past year, and that's...
Dentists don't hate dentists.
You're a dentist too? Oh, wow. So that's the reason why I'm here. So when I create dishes based upon things that I really like eating. One of my favorite things to eat is falafel. So then I thought, because it's holy, we should do like a colorful version. And the second thing is, let's do an Indian influenced version. So instead of the falafel, we will be making a beetroot tikki. Instead of just regular hummus, I'll be making carrot hummus. Instead of like a tahini sauce, which is like a white base sauce, we're going to do cucumber raita. And I have some pickled jalapenos here as well. And some colorful cabbage sauteed in mustard seed. So I'm going to go ahead and start. I'm going to pass the mic over to him so he can hold it, and then slowly I'll any tips that I've learned throughout, any questions that you guys may have, please feel free. It's a very communal environment here, so I'm sure you guys can all hear me, I can hear you. So anything that pops in your head, please feel free to ask. So with the beetroot tikki, if you look at the recipe, it says 1 large beet. It's with beets, either you boil it or you roast it. If you're roasting it, you want to roast same sizes all at once, because the smaller ones obviously cook a lot faster, and then the larger ones will cook a lot slower. Beets, in general, take a very long time to cook. So if you're boiling them, it'll take minimum 3 to 4 hours. You can also put it in a pressure cooker with some salt, which is what I've listed in the recipe. Today what I did is I roasted them. Another thing about beet is it leaks a lot of ink and color, so you always want to be wearing gloves or something along those lines. One of the things that I learned in the restaurant industry, the easiest way to peel beets is not with a peeler. You actually, so I brought one extra as a demo right here. So let's say this is a beet that I've roasted. You take a towel, and don't use a white one like I did, because this is going to stain, and you just peel the skin off like this. This is the best way to yield as much of the beet as possible, and if you notice, the skin comes right off. So anytime you're working with beets, this is essentially, use a black towel, use a dark purple towel, but look how easy it is. It's coming off within seconds. If I were to use my finger, watch this. I still haven't even done what I just did. And then you take off a lot of the beet, and beets are expensive, so you don't want to be doing, you want to yield as much as you possibly can. With the peeler, obviously when you start peeling, the beets are so tender that you take off a lot of the beet itself. So that's always a good tip. I'm wearing my gloves. I'm going to start with a potato. What you want to do, if you have a food processor, go ahead and put it in there. What you want to do is you want to grate it. So what I have, I'll use like a small size grater, and you just want to grate it. So this is a boiled potato. Obviously it's grating within 2 seconds. And the consistency that we will want eventually is a very smooth consistency. So if you see, if I'm able to mash this and it'll turn into like a mashed potato consistency, you're just going to keep doing it. And this tikki is very similar to aloo tikki. You've made aloo tikki. Chef Thomas makes fish tikki. Any kind of tikki that you're using, it's always going to be a potato base because it's starchy. So even when you're adding things like beetroot has a really bright color. So you won't even be able to see that there's potato in there. So once again, I'm taking the beet and I'm mashing just the same exact way that I mashed the potato. How you guys all doing?
Yeah, you guys are good, right?
Yeah, you guys are good? So the end comes off. Because it asks for 1 large, I'm using 2 small. And as you can see, it's fairly easy, fairly healthy. I'm not frying these tikkis. What I did today is I baked them, which obviously is a lot healthier than frying anything. It's not soaked in oil. If you don't want to do that, you can actually add a teaspoon of oil onto a pan, a non-stick pan, and that's the healthiest way about doing this. And then go ahead and just sear on both sides because the beets are cooked, the potatoes are cooked, everything inside is cooked. We're gonna go this way. So to this, I'm adding a quarter teaspoon of turmeric. I'm adding 1 tablespoon of garam masala. I'm adding half a teaspoon of red chili. And this, if you want to add more, you want it spicier, you can add. I'm adding green chilies, chopped ginger, minced ginger, whatever you have. You can obviously add onion and garlic. Clearly today I made the Swaminarayan version, which has no onion or garlic, the Jain version.
That's nice.
Yeah. My mom is Swaminarayan, so I always get the question, you're making all these exotic dishes, but there's nothing in there for me to eat. Most of these things you can obviously supplement. I have a teaspoon of fennel powder. I have some rock salt.
Rock salt. Rock salt.
I have coriander. And I have a little bit of lemon juice. You can either add lemon juice or amchur powder. Amchur powder obviously has the same exact tang that this would. You don't want to add too much and you don't want to add too less because you want to see how much moisture this yields. To this, my bottle of water. Yeah, about a half a tablespoon. That's it. Half a tablespoon. So here I have panko breadcrumb. I'm adding panko as opposed to soaked bread because I like the texture of panko a little bit better, and I feel like it adds like a crunch inside of the beetroot tikki wrap, and it helps hold it together. Next thing is, it doesn't get any easier than this. You're just gonna keep molding. Keep molding, and as you guys can see, the color just went from white to this beautiful dark pink, purple beet color.
It's a nice color.
Yeah, it's pretty, right? Especially for home.
Really pretty.
You guys should all go home. You're all gonna go home and make this recipe. It's
Happy Holi.
super easy. And also, this is no eggs in there, no meat. Mitas is known for always doing Mediterranean dishes.
Pure vegetarian dish.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So this, you can obviously use a mold, or you can just use your hands. And you just keep pressing until, and then you pat it down. This is a perfect tikki. So if you guys want, we can even pass this around to see what the consistency is like. What we then do is we take this, semolina. I like semolina. So if your tikki is not sticking, and no matter what you're doing it's not working, you can add cornstarch to this. Cornstarch always helps. So I've got a little cornstarch right here. So I'll demo one with the cornstarch. Let's say my tikki, this recipe is to a T. I've tested it out. So you're all gonna go home with, mind my words, but an idiot-proof recipe. It's very easy. But if it doesn't work, you then take this, drop it into the cornstarch a little bit. Cornstarch always helps things stick together, right? You're welcome, have a good night, enjoy your movie. And there you go. So that's what you would do with the cornstarch. I'm gonna make a couple more, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna wrap it with the semolina, which is what we did for the recipe today. So once again, you see even the second batch is turning. Oh, also you want to taste. You want to keep tasting your food while you're cooking. Abhijit, you want to taste it? Let us know if it needs salt or anything.
It's nice, very nice.
Perfect. So then I'm going to take this and I'm going to drop it in my semolina. It's always easy when you put the semolina on a plate. So like this. Instead of doing this, because obviously, once again, we don't want to waste. So little goes a long way. You're going to drop it on both sides and cover. And it sticks. It's like glue. So we're going to take this, and once again, we're going to make a whole tray of them, and you either bake it, which is obviously the easiest, or you pan sear it on something like this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send a plate over so you guys can see. You can feel the consistency of what this feels like. And you guys can see each one at each different state. So there's one that's been made. This is also a great make-ahead recipe. If you guys are entertaining people, guests, or whoever, you can make it the night before, which is what I did. So in this beetroot tikki, you'll see this is, if you make it the night before, you'll feel the consistency, and it's still got that nice crunch. This is what I just made right now, and this is baked.
Can we freeze that?
Yeah, they freeze really well. Anything with potato, and if you mold it properly, just don't cook it at all. Freeze it, and then the thing about freezing though, it's hard to bake it then. If you freeze it, you have to fry it, which obviously defeats the purpose of it being healthy. But you can still, I mean, it works really well, so you can go about that route as well. So what I'm going to do now is the beetroot tikki. We can pass it around. Yeah, for sure. And in the meantime, I'm going to move all of this to the side. And I'll give you a couple other tips on things like hummus. So hummus is an easy recipe. It's very healthy. It's great to dip in with vegetables, crackers, anything anything you could possibly think of. We dip in hummus. You easily can change the thing. The base is always going to be chickpeas, no matter what you do, because it's a similar starch to potatoes. Once you can add carrots. You can even make a beetroot tikki or beetroot hummus. You can make pesto hummus. You can make a cilantro hummus. Anything. Chickpeas are always going to be your ingredient. So what to this I've added is, in a food processor, I've taken carrots and garlic and just kept processing until the carrots were really finely minced. To that I added some olive oil, some chickpeas, a little bit of hot sauce. So you could either use sriracha, you could use chili garlic, you could do like even a Korean spicy hot paste. I've added a little bit of honey and some salt, pepper, and water. My cucumber raita, I went ahead and added red chili powder, so lal mirchu, cumin powder, chaat masala, and that's it, salt and pepper. That's it. And pickling jalapenos, I love the fresh stuff as opposed to anything in the jar. The jar has a lot of salt, it's got a lot of preservatives, and most of the times this tastes so much better, it's spicier. Super easy. What you want to do is you take jalapenos and you put it in any vinegar, bring it to a boil, drop it in a jar, close the jar, leave it in your fridge. And you've got pickled jalapenos, and it's so much better than the jarred stuff. And they're spicier too, really spicy. So even today, I tried one and I was like, oh man, I'm not putting it in all the wraps, but we did put it in the green one, so whoever does like it spicy, please help yourself. And I'm gonna go ahead and demo how to make a wrap. I think it's very self-explanatory though. But for those of you that don't know what it is let's say, take this. So let's say this is a wrap right here. First off, we want to go down with a little bit of hummus. And I love this carrot hummus, so I add a little bit more. And plus it's holy, and I wanted this wrap to be very colorful. So what we did is we went ahead and I'm slathering it on. Also, when you guys are trying the wraps, please come up, try the hummus by itself. It's really good. Try the cucumber raita by itself. Everything is here for your disposal. If you like spicy jalapenos, please help yourself with that too. So in the meantime, what I'm going to do here for our topping, I'm going to put about roughly a tablespoon of oil. Let it heat. Then I'll add the mustard seed, and then I'll add my cabbage, and I'll saute it. If you want to lightly saute it, you don't want to lose the nutrients. I'm all about eating healthy. I love flavor, but I don't want to get fat. So at the same time, and I'm all about nutrients as well. I mean, me being a dentist, it's in my background, so I always try to eat as healthy as possible. But less oil, non-stick pan, best way to go. And you don't want to overcook this either. You don't want it to be like mush. The end result should be like this. Lightly sauteed, but still like has a crunch. Like you can put this in your mouth and still feel a bite to it. The second you overcook any vegetable, whether it be spinach, cabbage, you lose a lot of the nutrients and it doesn't benefit anything. So I feel the pan has gotten a little bit hot. I'm going to add about a quarter teaspoon of the mustard seed. Yeah, it will in like 30 seconds.
Any questions you can ask?
Yeah. In the meantime, anybody have any questions?
You're doing great.
Oh, thanks. All right. So, does everybody hear that popping? Or is it too loud in here? Ah, there we go. Good call on the mic. All right, perfect. So there we go. I'm gonna go ahead and add the cabbage. It'll be, like I said, it's like a light saute, so it'll take 30 seconds. And once again, if you use a nonstick pan, the cabbage won't stick either. But if it does, this is always the best way. My husband hates it because it makes so much noise. But I mean, I'm always like doing this, just to make sure that nothing sticks. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is perfectly sauteed cabbage. All right. So to the bottom of the carrots, I'm going to go ahead and add half of this cabbage. Perfect. I'm going to add 3 of the Tikkis. So the spinach wraps are obviously another healthy benefit, and it adds beautiful color. But you could get spinach wraps. Tonight we're going to serve a sun-dried tomato wrap. We're also going to do a roasted red pepper wrap. So there's 3 different kinds of wraps that are going on, and of course because it's holy, we wanted to be really colorful. But they're super healthy. Most of these you can get to be gluten-free, whole wheat, and it's a really great substitute as opposed to flour tortillas. Flour tortillas are very unhealthy. You're better off using corn at that point. So this is my 3rd tikki, and then on top of that, I'm going to add the rest of the cabbage. I'm going to add cucumber raita. So once again, this is a play on like a Middle Eastern dish, because obviously you have the tahini, you have the hummus, the falafel is substituted with the beetroot tikki. Instead of doing like a lettuce, which would normally be served with, I'm doing cabbage. And on top of this, I'm not gonna do too many because these did have a kick, but I will take about 4. Alright. And then we're just gonna go ahead and fold this. The best way to do this is obviously no, we're good. Both sides, the right and left side goes in first. You take the back and you tuck in everything into the inside so nothing gets soggy, nothing gets wet, nothing pops out, and then you just keep rolling. You don't want to overfill these things either because then they'll get a tear, and the second you put it on any kind of grill, it'll start pussing and come out. When you're grilling it, so I have a griddle pan here that I got in a set. It's got the grill marks on it. This works perfectly instead of a barbecue grill. Sometimes if you've seen, like Rachel Ray always has that flat top grill that you can put over the stove. But anytime you put anything down, seam side down, this is essentially like an envelope sealer. Because the second it heats, it will go ahead and seal up the entire wrap. Entire burrito, wrap, whatever you want to turn it into, you can. So I'm gonna go ahead and this will grill on all 4 sides. You want it to heat everything through, and then I'll go ahead and I'll cut it for you so you guys can see. At the same time, we'll have yes.
Wraps coming for you guys, that she has prepared before. So just give me something to try.
Perfect. Does anybody have any questions at all? Yes.
So, the potatoes, did you boil them or was it just...
No, I boiled the potato.
Oh, you boiled
Yeah. I boiled the potato and then I roasted the beets. But like I said, you can boil the beets as well, but that takes like 3 to 4 hours. And boiling potatoes obviously is super quick. And once again, when you're boiling things, you want to make sure that you're using the same size. Because let's say the smaller one's done and then the larger one isn't, you'll end up with a half raw batch, half overcooked batch. Perfect. So if you guys can see, turn this around. That's the kind of grill mark you want to get. And this thing is not too high, but the hotter the better, because then it just does it really quickly. But I love seeing these grill marks. I love that color, and it adds like a crispness factor. I'm gonna flip it over to one more side. Niall, do you have any questions? Yes. Yes, that was a question that arose earlier. Tikkis are perfectly good to make ahead of time. You can make them the night before. I showed the consistency of ones that I made yesterday and the ones that I made today. You still get, because the semolina adds a nice crunch, you still get a nice texture on top. If you freeze it, the only problem is you then can't bake it. You have to fry it. Baking it gets too much moisture, and then it becomes like a soggy mess, and you still want that crunch. So this, guys, would be like a perfectly grilled wrap. I'm going to go ahead and drop it on here. Presentation, I feel like with anything that you do, you always eat with your eyes first. So obviously, yes, hi. Yeah, no worries, tell me. Do you have a question, or you want me to just quickly? Oh, the tikkis? That was the initial part of the demo, but what you do is you grate potatoes, grate beets, you add all the masala, and then you have either panko or bread. I like to work with breadcrumbs. I like panko a little bit better. It's an Asian breadcrumb, even as opposed to the Italian breadcrumb, because I feel like that triggers the flavor and it doesn't taste as good. What you then do is you add it, and you just mash it. So you'll come up with something that looks a little like this. Yeah. And if once you grate it, you box grate it, you can put it in a food processor, anything, it'll turn into a consistency that's easily moldable. And the second it becomes moldable, then you can just go ahead and cover it with semolina, either bake it or you pan sear it on a flat top like this, non-stick. No, I have a knife. Thank you. So what I'm going to do is take my knife here. Like I said, you always eat with your eyes first. The thing about wraps is, why cut it in half when you can cut it on a bias and have it stand and look really cool? Sometimes my husband has no idea what I'm feeding him, but as long as I make it look good, he'll eat it, which is what I was saying. You can always everybody always eats with their eyes first. Actually, I think it's a nose first. People smell things first, and then you eat with your eyes. So here we go. Also, use a sharp knife. If you don't have a sharp knife, you'll kind of create a mess. I've cut it in a bias like this, and as you guys can see, the beetroot tikki with the carrot hummus, the cabbage, the green wrap, everything is super colorful, and then you'd serve it like this. There you go. Beetroot tikki wrap, guys. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions in the back? Or yes, Pyle?
What do you recommend?
So if you guys want, I have another hot sauce recipe that's great. Please feel free to email me and I'll send it out. But essentially it's tomato sauce. I use Kashmiri chilies and cilantro, jeera, salt, and garlic. And I puree a little bit of tomato sauce on the bottom of a food processor, or you could use a blender, and then I add the rest of the tomato sauce. But I make it really hot. So I add a lot of dry chilies as opposed to jalapenos, because jalapenos can sometimes do that weird flaky thing and it gets a lot of moisture. Also with tomatoes, it then turns into a Mexican salsa, and you want it to be a sauce, which is why I use or like any type of tomato sauce. And that's the hot sauce that I would use. I don't like sriracha in my falafel. I mean, anytime you go to a Middle Eastern restaurant, the hot sauces are so good. Like you go to Mahmoud's, they're only known because their hot sauce is so good. So I definitely think hot sauce is the key, but as opposed to hot sauces, I did a pickled jalapeno, so this adds heat for today's wrap. Anybody else? You guys ready to eat some? Yes. Let's see what's going on. Oh, there we go. So just an FYI, the ones with the green are with jalapenos. Yes. All the other colors, and because it's holy, we decided to do something obviously colorful. The red one is a roasted red pepper wrap, and then the orange one is the sun-dried tomato. Please enjoy. If you guys have any questions, I'll be around. Good night.
Thank you.
No, you're